Many persons consider starting a small business to create a second income stream to help fund their plans for retirement. Where would you begin? Would it work for you? Welcome to Retirement Matters.
Relationships that build wealth, create opportunities, the right solutions. That's what we do at JN Fund Managers.
We're in pursuit of your financial security.
Portfolio and investment management services for individuals and corporate clients, from wealth building and risk management to preparing for a comfortable retirement. Strong, stable, secure.
We're in pursuit of your success.
Let's talk. JN Fund Managers, your safer, smarter financial partner.
Jacqueline Shaw Nicholson, your training coordinator, JN Small Business Loans. Good morning and welcome, Jacqueline.
Good morning, Annette. Thank you so much for having me, and good morning to your listeners.
Some employed persons trying to build funds to support their retirement portfolio often think of starting a small business to do this. Can it be done successfully?
Yes, it can be done successfully, but what it means for full-time employed persons is increased time management. Time management will be very critical to their success. We look at the fact that employed persons are at work during the day.
Yes.
And as such, it will rely on utilizing their personal time as well to ensure that they're successful.
How does one start a small business? Does it begin with an idea, a need, a passion? Where do we start?
It really starts with an idea. And that idea is usually either generated from identifying a need, or it could have been generated from a passion. A lot of times we have skills that are not necessarily utilized in our own 9-to-5 work. And so these skills can be utilized to start a business and to generate additional income that can sustain us even after we are no longer in our full-time jobs.
What is generally accepted as a small business? I want to supplement my funds to retire, and I have a talent for landscaping, for example. So I start by offering my services to a few neighbors on weekends. When does this become a small business?
Once an entrepreneur has started, or an individual has started any operation that brings in an income, you have engaged in a business activity. Now, the size of that activity is determined by a number of parameters. So you mentioned small business earlier, and a small business, as defined by our ministry, is those entities that are employing between 6 to 20 persons and earning between $10 to $50 million per year. But what that does is that it points out that there is another category, and that category is our micro business operators.
Micro business operators.
Definitely. Micro businesses are those activities that employ maximum 5 persons. Oftentimes, the entrepreneur themselves are the only employee within that business and have a maximum annual sales of up to $10 million. However, we do have sometimes where persons don't meet either one of those parameters. And as such, we look at really, in practice, the capacity to receive a certain amount of funding or capital into the business. And so that is what we use to really identify in practice the size of the operation.
We spoke earlier about being passionate, having great ideas. But do we have to put in some amount of research?
Research is very critical. So even though we have an idea, and that passion. And sometimes when we have passion, that passion will make you not want to wait to do the necessary steps before starting. Yes. You just want to get going. But it's best to take the necessary steps, and research is one critical step. It helps you to identify whether or not the business activity that you plan to pursue is still a relevant one. What are some of the things that you can do differently to ensure that you are successful? You also need to find out what legal requirements, what regulations are there that governs the type of business activity that you want to engage in, to ensure that when you start, you have covered those areas and that you ensure that all the steps that you will take going forward are informed steps.
What's a good place to go for advice regarding business startups, and what kinds of questions should I be asking?
Good places to go to get advice would include the Jamaica Business Development Center, that's the JBDC, as well as the Small Business Association of Jamaica, SBAJ. along with the Companies Office of Jamaica as well. Those are entities that can provide us with good information, especially for startups, and to give good guidance in terms of registering a business, as well as good business practices. Some of the questions that you should really be looking at, any startup should want to know the environment within which you operate. So if you have determined a particular type of business, what is happening in that sector? What are some of the things you need to consider? What are some of the latest trends? What is happening so that you can respond to that? For example, you mentioned the landscaper earlier. Mm-hmm. And we know that climate change is a very current topic. And a landscaper would need to ensure that he's aware of what is happening with climate change, so that as he provides that service to his clients, he can bring that knowledge to his clients and ensure that his service is really at its best and it's optimal. And so it's very important that they find out what is happening in their sector. It's also important to find out what regulations are there, what is the cost, how do you go about applying, what are some of the things you would need to do prior to going into to apply, as well as looking at the cash flow of your business. What are some of the things I need to do in order to prepare a proper cash flow statement, to determine the proper projections for this business? And so you may need to seek business advice and accountant's advice, to ensure that your financial planning is accurate and it's on point. All the elements of the business, list them and ensure that where you don't have the expertise on your own, that you can get the necessary guidance for that.
An important part of starting a business is the financing of it. If my endeavors need to be funded, what can I do?
Firstly, you must determine what it is that you need the funding for. So is it that I need to purchase stock, or is it that I need to purchase stock as well as pay rent? Is it that I need to have in advance funds to pay salaries? What are the things that you need to fund? What is the amount? Quantify that so that as you go out to seek that funding, you are informed and you're ready to explain and to justify why you need a certain amount of funds. You need a business plan. The business plan is your roadmap to success, and it outlines step by step those activities that you need to engage in to ensure your business moves from idea to market. There are a number of sources that are available for funding. Funding can come from your own savings. Funding can also come from family and friends who are willing to support your activity. There are also persons who we call angel investors who are willing to invest in your business for part ownership. And there are also lending institutions that are willing to assist you. And lending institutions such as JN Small Business Loans will be able to give you that level of hand-holding that you need to take you through that phase, which is very necessary for micro and small businesses that are just starting.
Small business startup, they have the passion, they have the idea. They wouldn't have very often the information that they would need to start the business properly, and they can come to JN Small Business Loans for this?
Yes, they can. And where they need additional support, we also refer them to the JBDC.
Is there any way to estimate when my business will start generating funds?
Yes, there is a way to find that out, and that will come through your cash flow projections. So an entrepreneur can seek the guidance of an accountant who can assist them with cash flow projections, looking at what are the initial costs, what are the reasonable expectations in terms of income from the business, and so to be able to determine when you'll break even and when you'll start to earn a profit. So those can be projected.
Thank you, Jacqueline Shaw Nicholson, JN Small Business Loans. So the word is, discuss your plans for building your funds for retirement with a financial advisor. If you choose to supplement those funds by starting a small business, discuss them with your financial advisor too. For advice on starting that small business, speak to a business startup expert. Jacqueline Shaw Nicholson has provided a wealth of information. Please email your questions for this program to jnfundmanagers@jnbs.com or contact us through your website. You can text us on 504-1719. That's 504-1719. Our programs are uploaded to our Facebook page. So here's a gentle reminder. Enjoy your journey to retirement. That's your here and now, even as you plan, as you should, for the future. Take care of yourself and others. Until next week.